Hey family, King Kurus here, your Black History buff. Real quick, before the show starts, I just wanted to let you know that rather than running an ad for some random product, I've decided to bet on myself and use this spot to ask you to join me on Patreon. By joining, you'll help keep the podcast ad light, support the work that I do, and help me build a community away from the algorithms. And guess what? You can join for free. So if that sounds good, head over to Patreon and search for Black History Buff, or just check the link in the description. Alright, I'm done. Now, let's jump into today's episode. Hey family, this is King Kurus, the Black History Buff, and today's episode has been inspired by a book sent to me by American historian Jacqueline Jones Royster. Her book, Making the World a Better Place, has really inspired me, and so in this episode, we'll be taking a brief look into a side of the Black Power movement that seldom makes the headlines. We all know the names Malcolm X, Stokely Carmichael, and Huey Newton, but behind the iconic images and powerful speeches were Black women whose personal journeys not only built the movement, but also transformed entire communities. In this episode, I'm going to share a small part of their stories of resilience, passion, and unwavering commitment to justice. Let's get into it. Our story begins in the late 1960s, a time when every injustice sparked a call to action. Kathleen Cleaver grew up in an area rife with discrimination. Her early experiences with inequality lit a fire in her, a fire that would guide her to fight relentlessly for change. We fast forward to June 1969 in Oakland, California, a city that was rapidly becoming a crucible for Black activism. Picture thousands of determined people gathering to protest government policies that threaten their very way of life. That day, at one of Oakland's bustling protest rallies, Kathleen took to the stage. The San Francisco Chronicle later reported how her impassioned speech shifted the mood in the crowd. Eyewitnesses recalled that her words broke through the tension, transforming uncertainty into a powerful surge of solidarity. In that moment, she wasn't just speaking, she was igniting a spark of hope, galvanizing local support for the Black Panther Party's community initiatives. Kathleen's presence on stage wasn't just about the movement. It was also a statement on the visibility of Black women in spaces dominated by men. Like many women before her, she had to fight for her place at the table. Historian Jacqueline Royster reminds us that Black women were often living and working in the dark shadows of history, their contributions critical yet unrecognized. Kathleen refused that fate. She spoke, she led, and she fought. And that is just the beginning of Kathleen Cleaver's remarkable story, one we'll circle back to in a future episode. Next, we journey to the life of Angela Davis, a woman whose story weaves together intellect, personal struggle, and relentless activism. Angela's journey took a decisive turn in 1965 when she enrolled at Brandeis University. It was here that she encountered radical ideas and began to question the very structures of injustice. Her academic pursuits deepened at the University of California, where she studied under influential thinkers like Herbert Marcuse, sharpening her critique of racism, capitalism, and imperialism. But the path wasn't always scholarly reflection. In 1970, Angela's life intersected dramatically with the forces of state power. Her arrest, which made headlines in the New York Times, wasn't merely a political event, it was deeply personal. Under the intense scrutiny of FBI surveillance, Angela experienced isolation and fear. Yet instead of breaking her spirit, these hardships transformed into the fuel for her groundbreaking work. Her seminal book, Women, Race and Class, reflects not only rigorous academic thought, but also the raw emotions of a life lived on the front lines of resistance. Davis's radical ideas weren't born in isolation. She was part of a long tradition of black women intellectuals who wielded education as a revolutionary tool. Mary Ann Shadd Cary, the first black woman to publish a newspaper, wrote that knowledge is the pathway to freedom. Angela internalized this philosophy, carrying it forward as both scholar and activist, and through her work showed the world that our most painful experiences can be the catalyst for monumental change. Before moving on, I just want to ask you this. How do you blend your own experiences of adversity with your personal ambitions? If you can, share your own breakthroughs in the comments. We'd love to learn from you. Hey family, I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. Yes, this is an ad, but it's an ad for me. I forgot to mention at the start of the episode that along with Patreon, I also have a newsletter that you can join for free. Isn't it refreshing to get an ad for free stuff for once? The newsletter is something I set up to keep in touch with like-minded people who don't love being glued to apps, but still want to keep up to date with what's going on through the good old written word. You know, like our ancestors did back in the 90s. You can find a link to join in the description. Okay, I'm out. Thanks for sticking around. I appreciate you, and please enjoy the rest of the show. Now, let's step into the raw and relentless journey of Assata Shakur, a story marked by sacrifice and unyielding defiance. On May 2nd, 1973 in Newark, New Jersey, a violent shootout unfolded that forever altered the course of Assata's life. According to the police records and eyewitness accounts, the chaotic confrontation, documented in newspapers like the Washington Post, was charged with political undertones that many believe tainted the ensuing trial. Convicted on charges that have since been widely criticized as unjust, Assata's story could have ended there. Instead, in 1979, she made a daring escape from prison. This wasn't only an act of rebellion, it was a profound statement of reclaiming her identity and defying a system determined to silence her. Now living in exile in Cuba, Assata reflects on the steep personal toll of her fight. Her journey, filled with the scars of state repression and the courage to overcome them, stands as a testament to the price of true resistance. Assata Shakur's story is a stark reminder that the road to freedom is often paved with sacrifice, and her narrative compels us to ask, what is the true cost of standing up against injustice? Now, not all heroes make the headlines. Some work day in and day out behind the scenes, building communities brick by brick. In the Black Panther Party, these unsung heroines transformed revolutionary ideals into everyday reality. Let's start with Erica Huggins. In late 1969 in Oakland, she helped launch free breakfast programs that, according to local records, fed about 500 children every morning. These programs did more than just serve meals. They opened doors to education and healthcare, nurturing the future of entire neighborhoods, and they challenged a system that had abandoned black communities. Royster's research reveals that this was a continuation of historical efforts by black women dating back to figures like Susie King Taylor, who provided education and aid to black soldiers in the Civil War. These acts of care were quiet revolutions in and of themselves. Next, we have Elaine Brown. In 1974, Elaine broke barriers by becoming the first and still the only woman to lead the Black Panther Party. Her election was a historic milestone, celebrated in interviews and documented in the Black Panther newspaper. Her leadership, forged through both personal sacrifice and visionary strategy, paved the way for greater gender equality within the movement. And then there's Afeni Shakur, whose personal story resonates deeply. As the mother of Tupac Shakur, Afeni's life was no stranger to hardship. In the early 1970s, she played a crucial role in organising legal defence efforts for the Panthers. Court records and interviews with fellow activists highlight her strategic brilliance, which not only shielded many from state repression, but also bolstered the movement's strength in the face of adversity. These amazing women remind us that revolution isn't always about dramatic speeches or headline events. It's also about the everyday acts of courage that build and sustain communities. The Black Power movement was built on more than just iconic figures and monumental events. It was built on the personal struggles and steadfast courage of women like Kathleen Cleaver, Angela Davis, Assata Shakur, Erica Huggins, Elaine Brown, and Afeni Shakur. Their journeys, along with those of many others, filled with both triumphs and sacrifices, form the backbone of a revolution that continues to echo today. So I ask you, what does Black Power look like in our time? How do these personal narratives still shape our communities and fuel our fight for justice? Let me know in the comments. And until next time, please stay blessed. Hey, you stay till the end credits like only the smartest of people do. Listen, if you stuck around this long, you sound like the kind of person who might really enjoy my Patreon. Over there, you'll get access to hundreds of ad-free posts, early access to videos and recordings, bonus content, and whatever else I can think of to add value to your life. And you can join for free. Plus, if you join a paid tier, you'll get your name in the end credits of videos and that warm, fuzzy feeling of knowing that you're helping me make the show bigger and better. You can find me by searching for Black History Buff on Patreon or by using the link in the description. That's it. I'm done. Thank you so much for staying with me, and I hope you'll stick around for more episodes and share them with your friends. Till next time, stay blessed.